I love that intro. I never get tired of seeing it. I never see that intro and go, come on. It's like, oh, this is wonderful. Producer Stanton thinks I'm gritty. He thinks I'm real because he made that. So I love that. I am absolutely loaded for bear this week. But here's the thing is that I want to tell you a story. And then we're going to get into the news because last week I told you I would have some follow-ups, and we talked about 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Kentucky Derby. Guess what? Well, I'm just going to give you the headline. That's such a crutch. Sorry. My brain was focusing because I had to think which state. It's Kentucky, the city of Louisville. Newsflash this week. The city of Louisville is giving Breonna Taylor's family, I believe, and I don't have the story. If you're watching me, you can see I'm not holding a piece of paper because I was walking. I was speed walking. Good evening, everyone. Oh, you're waiting for the wave. I was just so blown away by the intro. I forgot to wave. Hello. Happy Saturday night. Hello. Breonna Taylor's family is getting in the neighborhood, I believe, of $12 million. I think it's stuck in my head that it was a double digit over 10. I'm 90% sure it's 12 million plus guaranteed enormous reform to the police department. So I remember telling you guys, it feels different this time. I don't think it's just going to be like, we're going to have a committee. We're going to discuss this. It's going to be pushed over here, taken out of the spotlight. No one's going to look at it. It'll get handled. I found Diet Zero Cherry Coke. I'm so excited. Whoa. I like Coke Zero. It's my guilty pleasure. But Cherry Zero, woo! That's Monique crack. Pretty much Cherry Zero and Whoppers, stick a fork at me. So I was walking around this week, and I mean literally walking around. I talked about this on my 3:30, but I want to bring it to you guys because YouTube is a little bit of a bigger audience, and I have signed up for two very important things, and I'll be brief. Number one, I signed up for a 21-day writing intensive, and it has workshops on Monday at noon for 4 weeks. You get one the week before you start, right before you start, then consecutive Mondays. And this Monday, technically tomorrow ends the 21 days, but we have one more workshop as sort of a, hey, did you get what you came for? Farewell. Well, the truth is I got what I came for day one. Let me now tell you the other thing I signed up for. I recently lost a lot of weight. Not when I say recently, I mean over the last 10 years, I've been shrinking. And then I had a surgery, which some of you know about, which is why I didn't do my, I've missed 3 shows in 26 weeks. So in a half a year, I've missed 3 shows. And one of them was for minor surgery to get my implants replaced. And since I'd lost weight, I got them smaller. I'm a smaller girl all the way around. My life is expanding, my heart is growing, and my body is shrinking. So I think that's what Latino people do. I think Latino women shrink, and Latino men pull their pants up to their nipples. That's just part of the culture, I guess. So let me talk about all of these weeks and walking. So this writing intensive talked about if you already have a habit, for instance, drinking coffee, to, attach something else to that habit. Hang on a second, because there we go. I wanted to make sure I can look at you guys. You can look at me. My mother texted in it. Because I do this on my phone, on my iPhone 11. I didn't get the Pro because I read up and I'm not a pro yet. Don't get ahead of yourself. I know how to use this one. So, the interesting thing is that the other thing I signed up for, and then I'll meld them together, is that I signed up for an 8-week, I'm going to just say it, butt camp. It's how to build your booty and shred the rest of your body. Because I'm thin and I'm fit. I haven't recently because of the surgery, but I've run half marathons. I work out. I do stairs. I'm very grateful. And I say that it's not about vanity. I'm grateful to have a strong, healthy body that has not failed me. When I was a road comic, I could drive 24, 26 hours straight through on pretty much truck stop coffee and power naps. And I'm talking about like 30, 40-minute increments, like the gumball rally to get me to the next gig. And I did that in my 30s, well into my 30s. And I never even got a backache or a headache. Once in a while, I'd get a tension headache from just a little too much caffeine. But I am blessed with fortitude. People have gifts in this lifetime. Some people are tall. Some people are naturally beautiful. Whatever they get. I am grateful that I have fortitude. I have an incredibly strong constitution. I have a strong body, strong mind. I don't get ill. And so I decided that, you know, getting what got me here won't get me there. I've done X amount of stuff to this point, and I'm going to keep saying that because it's a reoccurring theme in tonight's show. What got me here? You know, watching what I eat, being predominantly a pescatarian. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I stay out of the sun. So yes, just shy of my 58th birthday. And I mean just shy. It's Wednesday the 23rd. I'm a birthday person. I know there's so many people that like don't like their birthday mentioned because then they think people are going to ask how old you are, and especially women. And I remember when you were a little kid, how excited you get around your birthday. People go, when's your birthday? And you say, you know, September 23rd, I'll be, 12, I'll be 11, I'll be 6. I'm almost a teenager. And you have this joy. Birthdays are joy for most people until they're not. And I don't know when that happens for other people because it's never happened for me. To me, a birthday marks a fresh start, another trip around the sun, an opportunity to get it right, another at bat. You're on the right side of the dirt. I'm thrilled. And every year, and it's good because then you remember, right around my birthday is when I go to the doctors and I get my teeth cleaned for the second time of the year. You do it twice a year, March. And, this year I did it in January. And thank goodness I did it when I was in Cozumel because I have a great dentist in Cozumel. And thank goodness that I did because then COVID hit and now I'm way overdue. But the point is, on my birthday, I prepare. Nothing is willy-nilly. Last year I went to the Korean scrub in downtown LA, and these women scrub you like you owe them money and you said, heck no, I ain't paying. I mean, they get within a millimeter of your hey lolly lolly and everything but pretty much your party hats, the back door and the hey lolly lolly gets scrubbed with salt. And then they splash you with warm water. It's really quite divine in a way. So no Korean scrub this year, but I've set up a facial. I've set up a pedicure because all these things are now being done outside. You just sit outside in a chair under a tent. And I'm getting my teeth cleaned and, ta-ta. Car serviced, because it's that anniversary. It's that another trip around the sun. So what got me here won't get me there for the next 40 years because I am Betty Whiting this bitch. I'm going at 98. I'm still going to be in demand and hot and, dating younger men. I mean, they'll be in their 70s, but you get the point. And so I signed up. I like producer Stanton put up a lot of laughs. You laugh, producer Stanton. You wait and see. So I signed up for this booty camp, butt camp. And I was very excited about it because they had a woman in her 60s and they showed her befores and afters. And I believed them because you could even see in her face, she had that look of someone who had worked out, that tightness and, anyway. So here's the interesting part is that both the brains and the butt, the things I'm going to focus on for the next few weeks, have similar messages. And they're messages about goals. So I want to talk about something that happened to me this week that I haven't talked about on the 330 because it's a big thing. And that is we had an earthquake last night at 11 something. It was a 4.5. It's the first one I've been in. I've lived in LA pretty much since 96. But since I travel so much for a living, I've only had like the little ones where my light fixtures swing. But last night was like a real one. Like I felt it, like the room moved. And it was very freaky. But it was 48 hours after I had already had a major tectonic shift. Now, I'm going to talk about, I think last night was Friday, Wednesday. It was either Wednesday or Tuesday. I can look at my text messages, but the phone is there. So let's just say Wednesday for the sake of argument. I have a friend, and I have had this friend for years, many years. And, you know, at one point, a long time ago, we were romantic, but that was a long time ago. Then it was just friendship and good friendship. And I like this person as a person in every way, shape, and form. Except, just like in a Shakespearean tragedy, this person has a fatal flaw, which is that this person drinks. And I'm not a fan of that. I've said that many times on the Monique Marvez show. I don't mind social drinking. I don't judge. I just know that in my life, there are things that I don't want. And maybe that's why it didn't go further. And maybe that's why it was a long time ago. And there's a lot of maybes there. But the long and the short of it is that I want to talk a little bit about inculcation. I come from a family with more than its, I'm not going to say more than its fair share, because what's a fair share? All right. But we have, we have had, actually, I don't think there's any of them left, to be perfectly candid, alcoholics and drug addicts. Oddly enough, the alcoholics went down like the Blue Angels, but the couple of drug addicts are lingering. But I digress. And so, I talk a lot about how your inculcation affects you, how even though you don't like something, in some weird way, if it's familiar, if it's what you know, you just kind of go along. It's kind of like you're unconscious, like the piper started playing and you started dancing. So over time, I've sort of ebbed and flowed with appropriate boundaries. But interestingly enough, on Wednesday, because I'm very focused on my writing, I'm very focused on another level of working out, which is about building muscle. And we're going to talk about that in a second. That during the text volley, I texted this person and I said, "Are you tipsy? Like, are you drunk?" And they responded, "Well, I've had a few drinks," because I've become so aware and clear that even in a text volley, I can feel something's fishy. Something ain't right. And I appreciate this person's candor, which is why we're friends, or we're friends. I appreciate that. But what I don't appreciate is, hey, just because you're day drinking and bored, don't bother me. I'm busy. I'm writing. I've promised my fans a manuscript. I've signed up for this butt camp. It wasn't expensive, but I paid because it makes you do something. And I've got my booty bands and etc. So during the volley, because of the fact that nobody likes being, sort of called out, so to speak, I said, "Hey, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, if you've chosen to do this, if you're drinking, on a random Wednesday in the afternoon, vaya con Dios. Don't text me. I've got things to do." And everything happens for a reason. Everything is an answer to a prayer. You just have to remember what you prayed. So the person texted me back and I guess felt a little poked and said, "Well, I can admit that I'm an alcoholic. I'll own that. What's wrong with you that you'll own?" Or something like that. Like very pointed, like, "You embarrassed me. You called me out. I feel judged, indicted." None of that was true, by the way. I just wanted to get back to my writing. I wanted to do my workout. I wanted to get ready for my walk. And we'll talk about the walk in a minute. See, I'm throwing a lot of ingredients in. And so the person said, "What will you own?" And I had one of those moments that you hear about. The end of Apocalypse Now, the diamond bullet, right to the head. Moment of extreme clarity. Like, bam, pow. And with, once the bullet lodged in the middle of my brain, once the diamond bullet lodged, I responded and I said, I will own that I have an addiction, or at least a compulsion. I have a belief that I'm working on, that I can help people that deep down inside don't want to be helped. In fact, they love their addiction. They love their illness. They love their compulsion. They love their wounds. Now, I've embellished it for you guys, but I basically, in my mind, was thinking these things. But I did text back, I have an addiction to thinking I can help people that really don't want to be helped. And as I typed this to you a week out from my birthday, it has hit me in a very different way and saddened me. Because for a moment it saddened me how much of my life I have spent with this addiction, with this compulsion, with this belief. And rather than be mad, I said, I thank you. I appreciate you for bringing me to this point. This text volley has been a blessing, because we had gone back and forth quite a bit. Like I say, I believe he felt indicted when I said, don't text me, on a random Wednesday when you're day drinking. And I didn't say like, that's a stupid thing to do or that's a waste of your time. I didn't, because I don't care. I don't have skin in the game. I'm not paying his bills. He's, but when people feel called out or cornered, they get defensive, and sometimes it brings out the worst, or they're very unkind. So interestingly enough, after I typed that, I sat with that tectonic shift. I have never done that. I've never just come right out. And you guys know I'm a very direct person. I've never come right out and texted another human being, you know what? What got me here won't get me there. I have wasted an enormous, I don't want to say wasted, I learned something. Because when I say wasted, you know what? What happened 5 seconds ago, 10 minutes ago, yesterday, Wednesday, 1986, doesn't matter. I'm not going to argue for my limitations. I'm not going to give voice to a behavior that I exhibited in the past. I'm not doing it. So I sat for a few minutes in that moment of clarity, and the shock wave, kind of like, whoa, I have just made a conscious decision out loud. I typed it. It's on my phone in black and white. I will not be doing this henceforth. Hear ye, hear ye. Monique Marvez will not engage in these types of shenanigans. Done. That's what I always say. Decided and declared. And a few minutes passed. And then he typed, does that mean you're not going to talk to me anymore? And I responded. And funny thing, I could tell by the punctuation in that few minutes, he probably took 2 shots, because it looked, like spaces. And I thought, something has happened here. 2 things have crashed into each other that needed to crash. And I typed back. I said, for the foreseeable future, I believe that I'm going to stop communicating. I see no point. And I was, it saddens me, but I'm thinking about sort of core issues. And I really don't see any point in communicating for the foreseeable future. Then I sat with that for a minute or two, because this is unknown territory for me. But I want to be different going forward. I'm so grateful for who I have been. I'm grateful to be here. What got me here won't get me there. It's not going to get me where I want to be. So then he texted back something like hate me, but there was no punctuation. Just hate me. So I responded, is that a question or a command? And then I realized I don't want to do even this anymore. So I blocked him. I have never blocked a human being on any platform. And I've had some hateful people. I had some guy on my Hermosa set, which, you know, when you're on stage and the way the lights are and I didn't like the way I looked in that set. I really didn't. But my producer, Scott Montoya, was like, you're funny. It's not what you think. You look great. I felt like I was puffy. Maybe I had sushi. I don't know. I just didn't like the way my face looked. I'm very susceptible to swelling when I eat a lot of fish. I'm just one of those people. I remember Jane Pauley saying when she quit the Today Show that she was delighted that she could eat sushi. So evidently it happened to her too. You know, the camera, especially HD camera, is just a pitiless biatch. So, and imagine 3 of them on you at once and, you know, cutting from shot to shot. And so anyway, I didn't like the way I looked. And evidently neither did somebody else, because they took the time to write on YouTube, on my page, under the Hermosa set, something along the lines of, I just can't watch her Botoxed, puffed up face and puffy lips. Well, I've never done anything to my lips. This is my face. I haven't had any surgery. It's my face. You know, am I going to lie to you and say I've never had Botox? No, I've had it, but not much, because you got to move when you're a stand-up comedian. If you can't do this, you can't be funny. Did it hurt my feelings for a second? And then, you know what? I just typed. I said, thank you for trying to watch me, because why not? So to be clear, I'm not a negative person and I don't get wrapped up in negativity. But I felt the need to sit in silence for a pretty long time and just let las ráfagas. In Spanish, an earthquake is an earthquake, and las ráfagas means the aftershocks. That after something big happens in your life, maybe it's sort of a spiritual adrenaline. After you get divorced, after you recover from cancer, after you know, whatever it is, las ráfagas. I'd never experienced an earthquake. And last night I went to sleep, so there may have been some small aftershocks, but I didn't feel them. I was asleep. But I sat there Wednesday night in las ráfagas because I wanted to cement the feeling of being different. I wanted to cement how good it actually felt. I already wrote a line for a script, because that's what I do. I'm an artist. When something challenges me, I go, oh, this is going in a movie. Like in real time as it's happening. I thought about how my pithy line, which I couldn't say because of what blocking, my pithy line that I'll say in the movie, or somebody else will say in the movie, I said, unlike your liver, I get to decide when I've had enough. That was my pithy comment. So I sat there feeling different, allowing myself to take in what it felt like to completely, totally have a moment of clarity, that diamond bullet, act on it immediately, and then sit in that clarity, in that moment of decision, in that standing up for myself, in the no longer allowing these little spiritual leaks of time and emotion. You know, Rumi, the 12th century Sufi poet, says, look to the bandaged place. That's where the light comes in. You know, look to the opening, look to the crack. I talk about this stuff a lot. It's not like I reinvent the wheel every single Saturday, but I try to spin it in a different way. It's a lot of content to talk every day at 3:30 and for an hour Saturday night. And yet you guys inspire me, and I managed to do it, and I'm going to layer on something else, but let me not get ahead of myself. But we were talking, because my friend Hector was looking for the video of, you know, Leonard Cohen has a song about everything has a crack and the light, that's where the light gets in. But that's actually a paraphrasing of Rumi, the 12th century Sufi poet, who said, look to the bandaged place. That's where the light comes in. Well, I'm gonna flip that. I'm gonna flip the script on Rumi and Leonard. That's how bold, that's how sassy, that's how badass I'm feeling. between my writing and my butt camp. And that is, look to the cracks, look to the bandage place, look to your warp, look to your damage to see where the stuff's leaking out, where the good stuff's leaving you, where you're letting people take your time, where you're letting people take your capital, your emotional, your intellectual capital, your emotional strength, your well-being, your time. Look to see where the leaks are in the power grid. Take a look and see. And for the record, I don't believe any of you are damaged. I'm not damaged. I was a little bit warped. And over time, with patience and grace and constant, persistent pressure, you can unwarp something. If you've ever had a warped piece of, I had a warped picture once because I had a painting in my bathroom, and over time the steam kind of warped the frame. Well, I put it under my mattress and I slept on it for a few months. Guess what? Perfectly flat, and I never hung it in my bathroom again. But the point I'm making is that with grace and patience and constant, persistent, subtle pressure, you can become exactly the person you want to be. You can become unwarped, undamaged. You're not damaged to begin with. I'm not claiming damage for you, and neither should you. I'm not damaged. I just tolerated things. I got to get the screen just right because I want to be able to see the little comments too. So I took some notes that I want to share with you. I make sure that you get them all. And one of them is, there's a lot going on in the world right now. When I say don't argue for your limitations, I mean, don't take this time while we have this pause for the cause. And maybe you're stuck at home, or maybe you're only working half days, or maybe you're working by yourself because they're only rotating your coworkers because they don't want a lot of people in the building at once. Whatever your circumstance is, where things have been elongated and stretched like taffy, whatever it is, maybe you're alone more than you usually are. Maybe you're not having as much conversation. Do not let these sort of demons of loneliness get in there and start having a party in your mind. And now all of a sudden, because I was writing this because I had a conversation with a young woman. Thank you, James. I had a conversation with a young woman, and she said to me, we just had this lovely conversation, and she said, "You look very happy." I said, "I am." She said, "What's your secret?" She's a young woman. I said, "Well, funny you should ask me. We had this conversation today. In fact, I did my 3:30 from a vegan restaurant on La Cienega called Real Food Daily, where I made friends with the young lady next to me. When I left, I hugged her. We've both been careful, masks 6 feet apart while we're talking. And then I hugged her. And I figured, you know what? I'll spray when I get to my car. She was extremely sweet, and we talked for over an hour. And she was very young, moved here from New York, right? She moves here and then COVID hits. And she has her hustle on. She's okay with that. She's working real estate remotely. She's happy, for the most part. But she asked me, she said, what keeps you happy all the time? Because I said, I'm happy most of the time. And she said, and I said to her, it's funny, I feel like she's from New York, so I'm like, and then I goes to her, and she says to me, and I goes to her, I said, last night in particular cemented for me why I'm happy. Because I sat here in my apartment and I was watching Mad Men, because that's what I do when I'm organizing my home or my thoughts. And the earthquake happened, and it was a real one. Like, I saw the movement in my, real movement, not like a chandelier, And as I saw the movement, I got nervous, but I wasn't afraid, because oddly enough, I always tell people I'm bruja. I'm not going to die in an earthquake. I'm not going to be maimed. I just know this. I know this to be true. And I mean, I've lived in LA on and off since 96, as I said earlier. I've never even been in one other than little tiny. So it seems like whenever something happens, I'm not around. God is very good to me that way, or good if you're, I say it all the time. If you have an issue with God, add an extra O. Nobody has an issue with good. And the world is good to me. I miss all the bad stuff. I happened to be in San Francisco visiting my family at the height of Hollywood and Vine being the center of BLM with looting and problems and people not, at the very least, not wearing their masks and getting into altercations and whatnot, basically at the foot of my building. I wasn't even here. But last night I sat there as the earth shook, thinking of, Carole King. I feel the earth move under my feet. Great song. I could play it on the piano when I was in middle school. Well, they call it middle school now, but I was in junior high, West Miami Junior High. And I thought about a few things at once, like in my brain. I thought, number one, how awesome is nature, the universe, God, goodness, that we grow up, thinking, la, 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 la. Well, keep your feet firmly planted on the ground. Well, what if the ground isn't firmly planted on the ground? The ground was moving. And I felt awe. And then I thought, how fortunate am I that this occurred and nothing happened in my apartment except a few things slid. Nothing broke, nothing fell. And I thought, how fortunate am I that this happened? And now I am reminded of a few things. Number one, stop going to bed without your shoes. Because I remember years ago, after Northridge, the big thing was always at least have shoes next to your bed in case there's broken glass. So I always have these thick-soled, really cute flip-flops with a bow on them that, I could walk over broken glass with them. So I kept thinking to myself last night, well, I'm not gonna not have my flip-flops anymore because I may not be able to make it to the living room where I usually leave them by the couch. And then I walked around my apartment and I found the safest place, which is my hallway in between my bathroom and my closet. And there's nothing that can fall on me. There's no doors that can swing open and hurt me. And it's wide enough that I can press my arms so I can stay, stable. My head's protected, I'm stable, and nothing can fall on me. Okay. So then I thought about, remember when it was funny that you would read a fortune cookie ad in Walmart, and then the dirty version, the funny version was in bed, blah, 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 in bed. And then it became in Walmart. Well, I thought, what if now, whatever happens, you could say, that's great. And that's what I did last night. After the earthquake, I said, wow, that was an earthquake. That's great. I started practicing what I want next, because what got me here won't get me there. And I decided, after the ráfagas of a tectonic shift in me personally, then a real earthquake showed me, like, hey, this is what change, shift, something at a root level underneath you. This is what it looks like when the police force of Louisville, Kentucky has to take a knee and mea culpa and write out a big check because they did something that wasn't completely kosher. Now, I'm not here to indict the police, and I wasn't there that night. So when I say not completely kosher, that's as much of into it as I want to get. But clearly something went down because a big fat check was written and reform has been promised. Just like I said a couple of weeks ago, we are past the point of, we'll take that under consideration. We'll form a committee. We'll ask some questions. So last night, as I thought, that was an earthquake. That's great. It reminded me that I'm not in charge of things. We all slip. We all have moments. I was feeling bad about my drinky pants friend and how I blocked him. I was feeling a little bad about that. And then the earthquake happened, and I thought, no, because the only thing I can control is my attitude, my boundaries, my life, and what I want next. See how that works? That's great at Walmart. So last night, guess who had her flip-flops right next to her bed? And guess who knew, All right, next time I won't just sit on the couch like a Nimrod, although there's no light fixtures over me and nothing can fall on me. Even still, I thought, you'll get to the hallway and you'll make sure Nola comes with you because she always stays at my feet. That's where we'll go, me and Nola. I wouldn't go in my bathtub because I've got a big Breakfast at Tiffany's poster in glass and that could fall on me. But doubtful. I don't think Audrey would do that. You were asleep? Yeah, it was after 11. So, I thought about the difference between sending love, sending good energy, sending blessings, and feeling bad, really bad about the fires. Feeling really bad about, think of all of these things that have occurred. By the way, Puerto Rico 3 years later just got a bunch of money. And I would be remiss if I make it to the 40-minute mark in this show and not say what a tremendous blow it was to lose. I mean, look, is it shocking? No. Was she old as dirt? But she's not older than I hope to be, which is why I'm changing my habits. And did she do amazing things? Yes. And hello, she had like the bad cancer, like the kind that takes you out in a nano. Talk about fighting the good fight on every stage in every way. And I love that within my own family, I have extremes, people that adhere strongly to opposite doctrines. And even my cousin, who is, right, who's a girl, posted what a loss to lose notorious RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We lost her yesterday. And that was like a little bit like, really? Wow. That's kind of sad. And then, obviously she's been ill for a long time. We knew this, and she's not young. We knew this too. But I think everybody was kind of like, let's see how long Ruth can go. Can she make it to the other side of the election? Well, she didn't. We'll see what happens. But see, I'm watching like I watch the fire because I don't have any say in that. I don't have any say in what happens between now and the election. I just have say in the election. I don't have say in the fires. I don't have say in the hurricanes. In fact, just so you guys know, producer Stanton is producing the show from Louisiana, as he has been the last couple of weeks, because he is taking care of his home. He has a family homestead there that has already suffered because of the rains, because of the hurricanes, because, I think it's Hurricane Sally. I'm not all over this, and I apologize because it's a hurricane. But it's so bizarre how some stories are, the news cycle, and I talk about this all the time. It depends on where you are and what matters to you. Some people are following the fires more carefully. My mom's in Florida. She didn't even know we had an earthquake. I told her today, she was like, really? I go, yeah, it's a pretty good one. Nothing bad happened that I know of. We have all kinds of issues in the Gulf and, hurricanes brewing. It's still hurricane season. So producer Stanton has taken time out from being with his family and his cousins and repairing the family homestead and making sure that it doesn't leak to produce this show. And I'm very grateful for that. By the way, I want to remind you guys again that next week you're going to have a surprise. And when I say surprise, I am performing in San Diego. Those of you who live in San Diego or in the area, we can only sell 50 tickets. It's an outdoor show. It's social distancing, and it's an event for my friend. And I'm very proud that I can say friend, Mary Murphy, who was on the show So You Think You Can Dance. She's a champion ballroom dancer. She was a judge on So You Think You Can Dance. She's a delight of a human being. She's just as cool. If you know who I'm talking about and you've seen her or you watched the show, she is as delightful, maybe more so in real life than she was on the show. So Mary and I are doing a show together to benefit her dance programs and her dance foundation, ballroom dancing. So there'll be ballroom dancing, outdoors, and comedy at 9 o'clock in San Diego. And if you live in the area and you're interested, private message me and on any social media platform, and I'll send you the flyer and the link. But it's pretty much guaranteed it's going to sell out in like a second, which is why I haven't bothered to even talk about it. But next Saturday, I will be in San Diego. So getting back to the young lady, see, I don't forget where I was leading you. I told the young lady, I said in the restaurant today, I said, when you fully understand what you don't own, I don't own fires. I don't own RBG dying. I didn't do it. I didn't do the hurricane. I didn't do producer Stanton having some rain come in. I didn't do any of that. I'm not taking ownership. I'm not feeling bad or guilty or sorry or pitiful, because that doesn't help anybody. I'm thinking blessing, strength, prayers. Figure out why. That's great. What brush needed to be cleared out? Whose life needed to be upended? I don't know the answer, but we've all heard stories where, the nurse that helped the guy with no legs at the Boston Marathon ended up marrying him a year later. You get to own that. And I say that because, and like I had so much to tell you guys, I usually don't even write notes or refer to them like this intricately. But what I wanted to say is that it's very hard for people to decide what they don't own and just let it go. But the real hard part is to take ownership, and that's the hard part, of what you do own. That's the hard part. And that was the more extensive part of the conversation with the young woman. Because during that conversation, as we kept speaking, I saw a lot of a younger me in her, the way she thought, her philosophies. By the way, my 330 gang knows I looked up the word philosophy because I love that word. And I knew what it meant loosely. I know what a philosopher is, duh. I knew that there's different forms. You have Eastern philosophies and Confucius and when they started and how old they are. But I'm a freak for words. And I wanted to know what the etymology, what does it mean? It literally means lover of knowledge. Lover of knowledge. Doesn't that just sound great? Philo means beloved. Sophia means knowledge, which I love because my niece is named Sophia and I helped name her. Philosophia. Beloved knowledge. How great is that? So this young woman who was kind of an old soul, the more we talked, the more I saw me and her. And I told her, I said, well, I hope you like me because I think I'm old you. Older. I don't feel old at all, for the record. And she, as Gen Zers are wont to do, let out a string of F-bombs and said, I hope you're right. You're the effing coolest. This has been a wonderful lunch and a wonderful conversation. And that made me feel great. And we kept talking. And we talked about the philosophy of taking ownership of what you can control, which is, for instance, if you feel strongly about something, whether it's women's rights, Me Too, BLM, whatever it is you feel strongly, then perhaps you want to take action in that direction rather than just cutting and pasting mean stuff on Facebook, which is not action, for the record. I know cutting and pasting technically is an action, but it's not action. I put my money where my mouth is. I'm a member of Greenpeace. They take money out of my credit card every month. I've said it before, and I'm just saying it again, and that the things that matter to me, I take action, because getting back to my butt camp, getting back to my writing camp, they talk about how reaching a goal is just a matter of steps. Take the next step that unfolds before you. Well, when I downloaded everything that came with the butt camp, it was over 200 pages. It was very specific exercises, very specific eating plans, very specific before and after, how to shoot your before and afters. Very specific. It was overwhelming. So the next logical step for me was the fact that there were 3 different ways you could do it. If you wanted to shred yourself all up and be a bikini model, then you did all of this, like the diet and the macros and You know how that works. We all know bodybuilders or fitness people or whatever, right? That's not for me. I don't need to lose an ounce, and I'm never going to be a bikini model. Okay, that's 60 pages I don't have to look at again. The first step, the first logical step was just to gain clarity. I'm this person. I want to be fit, and I want to build up muscles. I want to build muscles. You know, I used to have like I say, a nice dangerous minority ass. I had a big double bubble back before it was popular. My parents called me culona when I was a little girl because I had a big poofy Latina butt. And over time, as I've continued to shrink down, like I say now, I have a middle-aged white woman with good credit butt, and that just makes me sad. Diet cherry Coke. Thumbs up for the double bubble. Thank you, Stanton. If I can find honestly, I think I may have. And I used to think I was fat. So pretty much there's almost no pictures of me, you know, at a family vacation or at the beach when I was rocking the double bubble. But I'll see if I can find something. I will. So as soon as my next step was to get very clear on my goal. Before I could even walk towards the goal, I had to get clear on it. Well, what do I want to do? I want to build muscle. Okay, then now we're down to 45 pages. You know, eat right, do these exercises. Very specifically, how you build muscle is you stay more time in tension. You refuse to think of my booty. Nope. Well, thank you. I think you're being respectful. Thank you. So, you know, once I watched the workshop and it was explained, there's 4 different ways you build muscle. Number 1, you keep it tense longer. You engage it and you keep it tense longer. Like you don't. The second one is you work out to failure. You increase weight load. She kept saying, load, 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 weight, weight, weight. And if you don't have weight because you can't get to a gym, because the whole idea of this butt camp was that this woman who's a very competitive world champion butt person, and she's got a very nice butt, said, I never thought I would do a home workout. But because of COVID, I had to rethink everything. And you are now going to benefit from the fact that I can't get to a gym either, and I'm homeschooling my 4 children. Way to go. Good on ya. You know, I got a dog. I can do this. So it's a program based on minimal. You got your booty bands. You got some weights if you can find them. If not, she says, go to the beach and fill 2-liter bottles with sand. They get mighty heavy. That basic. And once I realized, okay, I can do this. I can engage the muscle and keep it tight longer. I can do it to failure. I can add weight and then do it to failure. I can do this. And then all of a sudden it was just, okay, I've got this. And then with the writing, it was every day we're going to give you a prompt. Great. Great. So every day, like little breadcrumbs, I wrote more and deeper and better. And in a few weeks, I just started the butt camp a week ago, but in a few weeks, if the writing camp, because I didn't want to start them at the same time, I kind of, layered them. I see what can get me there. That instead of binge watching TV and wringing my hands feeling sorrow, I'm like, no, I'm gonna get ready for what's next. Because it's always what's next. What's after the pause for the cause? What's after the election? What's after the new year? What do I need to do to get where I want to be? Well, it's not talking to people who drink during the day. That would be a big fat no me gusta. So getting back to the walking, and by the way, the young lady is a walker and she lives near Hancock Park, and we've made a date to have vegan ice cream tomorrow at Jenny's on Larchmont and go for a long walk together. So when people say, I can't meet anybody, I can't make friends. Well, guess what? Drunk guy out, young vegan girl who wants to walk and work out with me. She's never hiked to Griffith Park since she moved from New York. In. I made room for good, and good showed up. Alrighty. So I'm just going to go back over my notes to make sure I covered everything. Don't argue for your limitations. Don't talk about the past. It doesn't matter. Whatever limited you before doesn't have to limit you today. Then earthquake, aftershocks, las ráfagas, tectonic shifts. Micro, me, macro. There was actually a real earthquake in Los Angeles 48 hours after I was struck with a diamond bullet of what I do and don't want. Oh, I didn't talk about this one. Stalk your dream killers. I'll get to that before we end. Take total possession of what you can. Okay, so stalk your dream killers and root causes are, kind of tied together. And I want to talk about that. I can't believe how fast these things go. And that is, it goes back to that inculcation. When I was a little girl, I would say, when I grew up, I want to, fill in the blank. And my mother would say, si Dios quiera, which is love this, love. Oh, thank you. And my mother would say, si Dios quiera. My grandmother mostly. And si Dios quiera means God willing. I get that. I'm down with that. Absolutely. Yes. That being said, though, there's a tipping point when people start becoming naysayers. Don't get your hopes up. Not everybody gets to be a ballerina or blah, 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 blah. Whatever that is. And then little by little, it's like Chinese water torture. It's, I like that Jose post, 8 minutes. It's, it's effective. One drop of water at a time. I don't know if you know how Chinese water torture works, but evidently it's one drop of water in the same spot until, I've never had Chinese water torture, but I don't know. Water can do some crazy things. Maybe it'll make a hole in your head, or at the very least, it'll make you crazy. But it gets in you. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, when you have somebody systematically telling you in your childhood, think about the people that are important to you, how powerful their words can be. If you say, I want to do this, and they go like, well, I don't know if that's in the cards for you. Maybe you, on some level, abandon that dream on some level. So even though in your mind you're thinking, well, I don't care what Chuck says, I'm going to be, whatever you wanted to be. There's a little piece of you. There's a little, for some people it's grit in the oyster. It pushes them harder and they end up with a pearl. But for some people, it's that little splinter in your mind that keeps things from being right. It's that worm in the apple. So I want you to stalk your root causes, because people will say things, and I hear people all the time. I very much want to fill in the blank. I want to go to Paris, or yeah, but my family doesn't travel much. We're not really travelers. I guess if I don't get to Paris, it's okay. I guess New York is good. We all know people that launch a dream and then smack it out of the sky. I want you to pay attention to that other side of you. I want you to stalk it like paparazzi. I want you to pay attention if there's another side of you that's not supporting it. Because what's going on right now in the news, I took a picture. I literally took a screenshot, and it involved, I think 5 worst fires that ever hit California are happening right now. And they're going to stop I think it's WeChat and TikTok tomorrow, which I'm very familiar with that because my sister-in-law is Chinese with her family in Wuhan. I've said this many times. And back 2 months ago, when they first started rattling the cage of shutting down, WeChat and TikTok, my sister-in-law was having daily meltdowns because that's how she talks to her other child, who's a little girl in school who lives with her grandparents for stabilization reasons and divorce custody reasons. And she, has been flipping out. I don't think you guys tune in to Talk of Our Times for me to go deep into the politics and geo-financial news of Weibo and TikTok and the, for lack of a better term, enormous pissing contest that the East and West get in a pretty regular basis. And I don't even know if they really do, or if it's just a very public thing, and who even knows what negotiations are going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. So another thing I wanted to say, that in my own mind, and I want to reiterate it based on what I've done with these, building my website. Oh, go to MoniqueMarvez.com. We have a soft opening. It's still missing a few things, but it's live and it's lovely. And the girl who built it, who lives in London, she did a wonderful job, because I wanted it to be sort of the store of Monique, all things Monique. When you go to MoniqueMarvez.com, bam, there's the YouTube button. Bam, there's the Instagram button. Because my next goal during Butt Camp, because the writer camp is winding down and now I'm writing on my own, it kind of got me started into the manuscript, is that I want to get better on Insta, and I want to sort of marry, the 330 and maybe do it on Insta as a simulcast, because a lot of my fans are young, like this young lady I met. The way that COVID has been working, my comedy has gotten into the algorithm, and some of my videos, I think Snoop Dogg is at 900,000, Not Skinny, Not Blonde is at like 500,000. And it's young people saying, like, how did I just find you? I just watched your video. I've never heard of you before. How can that be? And I'm like, well, you heard of me now. It's all that needs to happen. Because that brings me to the final point, which is the earthquake. And being able to add, that's great. The pause for the cause has been a challenge. If I tell you different, I'm a liar, and I'm not. The pause for the cause has been a challenge in some ways. But here's where I say that's great. Because of the situation, Showtime, my producer, LOL Flix, Scott Montoya, released all of my comedy onto YouTube for free. There's no pay gate where you have to download Not Skinny, Not Blonde on Amazon Prime or pay for it, or you can just watch it, whole set for free. And interestingly enough, that has brought me to the attention of a whole new group of people, young people, people who are looking for what I'm selling, authenticity, or, whatever it is they see in me that they like, which is whatever it is, it's really there, because I have a lot of faults, but mendacity is not one of them. Like the Dramatics said when I was in 4th grade, what you see is what you get. By the way, that's a great song, the Dramatics, what you see is what you get. So now we're going to stick the landing. I want you to think, oddly enough, the pause for the cause is a virus. And prior to this, the term, let this go viral, let that go viral. And I thought about building muscle, building positivity muscles, building butt muscles, building brain muscles, writing muscles. I set a timer every day. First day was an hour, and I wrote for an hour straight without looking at my phone, without getting distracted. Next day, you add until you can put in a 5, 6, 7 hour writing day with just, bathroom breaks and lunch. You build a muscle. And the way you build a muscle, I told you there's 4 ways, is to engage it and keep it tense. Engage it. I want you to think about engaging, proactively engaging. Think about what the word means when you attach to something, when you're engaged, even engaged from engaged. I want you to think about proactively engaging your beliefs, the universe, whatever you think is out there that can help you. Build that muscle. I call it faith, call it whatever you want. But think about engaging the muscles you need, whatever words you want to use, to move forward, to decide what it is you want to do. I have to tell you that although it feels strange, because it's very new to me, this behavior, part of it, there was that moment of clarity where deciding I'm not going to do this for one more second, because what got me here will not get me there. Felt amazing. So I think it's all in all, earthquake, pause for the cause, hanging up on a friend. That's great. Until I see you next Saturday. Love hard, forgive harder, and get as happy as you can as fast as you can. See you next week.